From teaching English in South Korea to touring with a band that supported the Foo Fighters to appearing on reality TV, today's guest has had a journey like no other. Neil Smith eventually found his calling in medicine, and now, through his page Irish Medic in Bulgaria, he's helping Irish students follow in his footsteps to study medicine abroad. In this episode, we talk about his unconventional path, the entrance requirements for medical school in Bulgaria, the cost of living and studying in Varna, and the service he provides to guide students through the process. This is Neil Smith's story, and it's proof that success doesn't always follow a straight line. This episode is brought to you by Top Drawer Talent, the supply chain and procurement recruitment specialist. Let's get into it. Here we go.
Right, Neil, thanks very much for coming on all the way from
Oh,
Bulgaria. It's
thanks for having
nice to
us.
find you
Great.
put a face to the name.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us on. It's great to have a chat with someone back home. I'd love to keep as many connections as possible back home. So it's nice to
Are you
this opportunity.
are you getting many Irish students coming across, or?
Yes, so this year we have 13 so far, and there might be one more exam in October as well. The university haven't decided yet, so we'll get a few more then. But for now, just 13 altogether.
Oh, really? And would you have like many what? When does the actual course start in the year, or does it matter when you join? Like if it's before Christmas?
Yeah, it's technically the first week of October. And what happens is some students will get other offers in Ireland, like a late CAO offer or something from the UK. They might decide to take that instead. So there'll be sometimes there's a few places left over, and the university just give us a call and say, if you have any more names, drop it in, and they'll have one more exam like a few days before the year starts. So people have to like get their flights booked really quickly, get over here. It's okay to miss a couple of weeks. You can catch up and do retakes, and professors might ask you to write a couple of essays for them or something. But it's grand to start a little bit late, so it's okay.
Okay. And like in Bulgaria versus Ireland, do you know like how many places are like available for like medical students versus Ireland? Is there way more, or is kind of the same?
Yeah, it's quite a few more, because in first year, in our year, there's about 250 places on the English course and 250 on the Bulgarian course, and that's kind of the same with all the universities here. There is, let's see, Varna, there's Trachea, Sofia, Plovdiv, Pleven. So there's 5 altogether, and they varying amounts of places. But you've got like 5 medical universities bring over a lot of running a lot of English courses over here. So I haven't in a few years now, since I know that Simon Harris did increase the number of places recently, but I don't have the figure in my head of exactly how many there are in Ireland, so I won't be able to compare as it stands. But in Bulgaria, there's close enough to about 1,000 places for English speaking students.
Okay. And is that in like each course? Like, so you've got medicine, dentistry, and pharmaceuticals. Is that right?
Yeah. Pharmacy was due to start in our university this year. They didn't quite get the right setup over the line for the Ministry of Education Bulgaria, so it's actually going to start next year instead. For now, it's medicine, dentistry, but in Sofia, they would have pharmacy. They would also have a veterinary as well. So the setup is a bit bigger in Sofia. We're out here on the east coast in the Black Sea, and it's like I would say it's kind of like the Galway of Bulgaria, I would say, because you're the opposite side of the country to the capital, and it's a bit more easygoing here and a bit more of a small town feel. Yeah,
good way to describe it, I suppose.
Yeah.
But was your plan always to be like a doctor and go study medicine, or like what kind of pulled you to Bulgaria then as well?
Oh, no, definitely not. I had no aspirations to ever open a book or sit down and study something until like my 30s. I needed a good bit of time to get the maturity levels for that. So like I have so much respect for the 18, 17-year-olds that come over here and do it at that age. I would never. I just wanted to be in a band. I wanted to be making music and playing rock festivals and stuff all through my youth, and that was what I wanted to do. It was only until my mid-30s where I started developing ambition to go down this road.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like, what was school like for you, kind of like growing up? Like, did you get on well in school? Like, would you been quite academic?
I was up until like 14 or 15, I was doing very well in like in school, and I was into my sports, and I was working on weekends with part-time jobs, and I was just good. Then all of a sudden, like a lot of students, hit the rebellious years around 16, 17, and things did not go as well. I was more interested in going out with the lads and partying, and then that continued until my early 20s, and then I just hit kind of lock-in mode with music. About 24, went to Asia, tried to pursue it. So there was definitely a rebellious patch where I wasn't doing so well at all, and I think
Yeah.
a lot of people and a lot of people at that age kind of go through a similar thing, you know.
Yeah. Did you finish school then in the end and complete the Leaving Cert, or?
Yeah, I did my Leaving Cert, got an absolute monstrosity of a low level of points presented to me on Leaving Cert day, and the family weren't too pleased. Somehow got myself into a level 7 course in DIT, finished
Okay.
it. Finished with control. I can't even remember the degree now. Control systems and automation engineering,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
did like a kind of postgrad sort of what they call graduate entry job in Intel. Somehow Intel gave me a job. I don't know how. I worked there for about out in Leixlip. I was living out in Leixlip for about 8 months, and I was just I was too young for it. I didn't get into it at all. I found it wasn't my field. I realized it definitely wasn't my field, and started looking at other things, take years out and gap years and university, and somehow I landed on South Korea after that. Yeah.
Okay. And did you have a job then while you kind of were in college, or did you just study the whole way through and Intel was your first ever job?
Yes, I was. As I'm 41 now, so I was born in '84. Like the 90s in Ireland were not as nice as they are now. So like,
Yeah.
my parents would have had a bit of a we we weren't on the streets or anything like that, but you know the money
Yeah.
wasn't flowing for everyone back in there. So a lot of
Yeah.
kids, as soon as you get to secondary school, most kids would go get a part-time job. So I'd be working. I actually worked in my uncle's fruit and veg shop in Mount Merion for a couple of years. Then I worked in like newsagents. And when I was in university, what I used to work full summers in these Bank of Ireland jobs in summer, and then that used the money to kind of take me through the engineering course with that, because it was hard to hold down a part-time job in engineering because the hours are so mad. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I was kind of always working from the age of 12 onwards. I would kind of always have a job.
12. Jeez. Okay. So
Well,
you're really
it
young.
was with my uncle,
With
so
your
like
uncle. Okay.
it wasn't like I was out in out in a coal
Yeah.
yard on my own or anything like that.
But it's still a quite a young age. But then the Intel job, right? How did that come about, right? Did they come into the college and advertise jobs, or did you just apply online for the Intel job, or how did you get that job?
Yeah, we had a very good guidance counselor in DIT that you can go see, and she would have had a lot of people contacting her in the engineering department, and there's loads of stuff on offer. You just sent your CV out to them. Good thing about engineering, it's one of those
Yeah.
ones where people are always hiring, and yeah, I just went to a few different interviews, and after that was over, I came back to DID to just do a little extra course. There was something you can add a level 8 onto it
Yeah.
after you do the level 7, so like an honors degree, and I wasn't really doing well in that. We got to the stage where I was like, oh, this definitely isn't for me. That was towards the end of the level 8. I was like, oh. So I went into the guidance counselor one day. I was like, I think I want to pursue music and go to Asia. And her face just dropped like that. You know, it's just, what are you
Really?
talking
Yeah.
about? So,
Jesus.
but no, it was that's kind of the DIT has changed its name, isn't it? It's like I can't remember.
TUD, yeah,
TUD.
Technical
Yeah.
University Dublin. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was a good thing about DID. It was kind of a good community. They had stuff like guidance counselors and job opportunities. They were very good at dealing with that sort of thing for students.
Yeah. And did What did they have you doing when you're in Intel? Like, were you like on the production line, or were you in the office like on system, like working at the desk? Or
Yeah, it was all kind of the course I did was all control automation programming. So I guess in Leak Slip they were making microchips. So there was all these kind of machines to operate the equipment. It was sort of I'd be sitting in an office with someone else in front of like a program, and there'd be sort of a production system going on, and machine. I'm trying to make it seem like I know what I'm talking about here.
no,
But
you're okay.
it was this was this is 2008, so
Yeah,
I'm trying to bring my mind back there. That's
yeah.
almost 17 years ago, but yeah, kind of automation, factory systems, this kind of thing, software.
Okay. And when you, why were you drawn to Asia, like to move to South? I think it was South Korea you moved to, was it?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually met a few people, friends of mine that came back from Korea. A few of them were teaching English, and had another friend who was in a band over there, just playing music full time. It was just sort of the time of the recession where people were just leaving left, right, and center.
Yeah,
And it was a year after the recession started. A few people came back from Korea and just told me all about it, and it seemed absolutely amazing. And
yeah,
just the stories they were telling. Back then, Korea was really cheap to live in as well. It's
right.
gotten much more expensive as it's got more developed now. But you can go out, back then. You could go out and you can eat out and drink and everything for a very, very low cost of living, and you could get a visa if you had an Irish university degree. They would give you a visa over there
Oh,
as well.
okay.
So. Mm.
And did you like just like, and then what drew you to music then while you were in college? Like, were you always playing the guitar while you were in school, or did you just kind of take it on as an extracurricular activity?
Yeah, I was kind of started late, a little bit later to music than most kids in my school in Ireland back home. But I didn't notice at the time, but compared to other countries, like the amount of people playing instruments back home in Ireland
Mm,
is like massive. Most people have taken lessons in something throughout their childhood.
yeah.
Whereas I kind of stuck to GAA and rugby and football. That was kind of my thing for my whole childhood. And then when I was about 15 or 16, my sister was already a very good guitar player, my younger sister, and she started teaching me. Then I got into bass guitar and I started playing bass guitar in a lot of bands. That continued through university. I was in a band, and now and again we play out in Bray or Temple Bar. This just a cover band for fun, like nothing too serious.
Yeah.
Then after I dropped out from the engineering stuff, I realized that I wanted to try and attempt to pursue it properly, but also with funding myself at the same time by doing other jobs. Yeah, so that's how I got started off with teaching English in Korea for about a year and a half. That's for the first year and a half
Oh,
of my
okay.
time there. I was playing music in a couple of bands and also teaching a few days a week.
Okay, so you weren't like straight into like an Irish bar, like as the resident
No,
guitar player, no?
not unfortunately no. But it took a while. Actually, the first weekend I was there, I brought my bass guitar with me on the plane, and
Yeah.
it's just a really heavy instrument. So you have like I didn't realize how cold Korea was in winter. I lived in
Okay.
Ireland my whole life. I'd never been on holidays to New York or anything like that. I didn't know what a proper winter was. And I arrived there and it was absolutely freezing. Proper Baltics, Russian kind of winter. And it was like -10 or something. So I had no proper coat with me or anything. So, but I met this. It was in a bar. And I met this. I was wandering around the bar, just telling everyone that I wanted to find a band and I needed to get a drummer because I
Yeah.
was a bass player. The first lad I met was from Kilkenny somehow, and we ended up playing music together for the next like 10 or 11 years or something. We found a
Oh,
lad from America to sing and play guitar with, so we started off as a three-piece, and all of us were just working and playing music on the side. And then somehow, about a year and a half later, we fell upon this a TV opportunity. It was like a reality music TV show.
right. Okay. And because you've opened up for like bands like the Foo Fighters and stuff like that, is that right?
Yeah, so after a couple of years of just playing with the lads, I auditioned for a more established Korean band, I wanted to kind of drop the other work and move on to full-time music. So they were able to give me that opportunity. And they were all very well established in Korea, just they needed a new bass player. And they were playing on the festival circuit and playing overseas. They had a bit of a following in Japan as well. We would go over to China sometimes and play gigs. And so, yeah, a couple of times a year, similar to back home, they'll have their big festivals and some overseas bands will come over and they'll get the local Irish bands to open. And we were lucky enough to open for Motorhead just a few months before Lemmy passed away. And then the Foo Fighters, it's a long time ago now. People may remember that the time Dave Grohl broke his leg and he toured, he did a proper tour with his leg in a cast and he was sitting on that big Game of Thrones chair. That was that one. So yeah, that was the year they were in Korea when we opened. It was us and the Motorhead, Foo Fighters. Yeah.
Yeah. And what is like the Irish contingent like in South Korea? Like, is there a big Irish contingency out there, or is it pretty small?
It's it's surprisingly large. It probably feels large when you're Irish because you're seeing people, meeting people all the time. You know, everyone's from Ireland there, but it's on the grand scheme of things, the population of Korea, it's tiny. But I mean, I remember one figure like 10 years ago, someone said there was 1,000 Irish people living there. So 2025 now, it must be double that, I would say, a couple of thousand, I would say. But I really like the Irish presence in Korea because not only is the embassy very helpful over there, that the ambassador always gets involved in local stuff, but they have a separate voluntary Irish association, just a group of people that organize Irish events and gigs. And the Paddy's Day situation there is brilliant. They have a proper parade in the middle of the city, and they have a bunch of venues around the city. They've managed to pick up momentum with that and get sponsors from the likes of Guinness and Jameson and everything. So it kind of ramps up more and more every year. Like, it's brilliant.
Yeah. And would you recommend like South Korea as somewhere to go for like a young person looking to kind of travel or kind of get settled in a different country as opposed to like Australia or somewhere like that?
Yeah, definitely more a few years ago. The wages for teaching and everything have kind of remained at a similar level, but the cost of living's kind of gone up a bit since then. So it's not it's not as good as it used to be. But the opportunities for Erasmus students have opened up really well there. I would definitely recommend that. But still, like a really cool place to go because people are very friendly there. There's a brilliant social scene. The nightlife is brilliant. You have a great kind of Irish community there to fall back onto. So yeah, I would still really recommend it, but it's just not as good for getting jobs as it used to be.
Okay. And the main job then would have been like teaching English or like working in like is there many Irish bars or is there just like kind of one or two dotted around the place?
Yeah, it's there's a couple. There's one called Crack House Inn, and that's kind of where the community would kind of gather at night time. A lot of music there. There are a few other Irish bars, but it's just kind of the label. Like they definitely wouldn't be Irish owned. There's only there's only two like that I can think of the top of my head that I would know well. There could be there's a couple dotted around the country as well. So in Seoul, there's only like two proper Irish-owned pubs. There's one down the southeast of the country in Busan with an Irish owner as well. I think, but since I left, there could be a couple more open too. But in Seoul, the capital where I used to live, there was only ever really two proper Irish-owned pubs, rather than just the green paint on the outside and some Korean person owning it. Like.
Yeah. And how did you fit? Like, did you pick up the language okay, or like did you go to classes to pick it up, or like did you already know a bit before you left?
That took a while because it's such a tough language. I especially for the first year and a half, you're teaching English every day, so your job is to speak English to people. It's so hard to learn a language that way. It really is. And then I think the penny kind of dropped when I joined that Korean band 2.5 years after I arrived in the country. We were on this record label that was state funded. So we would get money just to give it to record albums and go on tours and stuff. And we had to apply for it. And there was like quite a lot of competition of other bands to get onto it. So automatically it was us and like 9 other bands hanging out every day in this big kind of building with a studio. And I'm the only non-Korean person in this situation. So all of a sudden, like, that gives me a brilliant opportunity to start learning the language. Like, of course, at first I sounded like a 5-year-old when I'm speaking to them, but as the weeks go by and the TV interviews come on, the radio interviews come on, it motivates you more to get better and better. So in terms of classroom, Leaving Cert, secondary school, I was brutal at languages, brutal at Irish and French. I think it was only a choice between French and German. I chose French, and I was terrible at languages. And then I realized I just, once I get into a social situation and learn a new word every day, that was my way to learn, I think.
That was very well. Did it take you long to pick it up, or like was it like a few years before you kind of fully picked it up?
Yeah, and it took me a while because I'd never mastered a language, and I was just, to me, after being so bad in secondary school, I just thought automatically my confidence was like, I'm bad at languages, like I can't do this.
Yeah.
But then once, as the years go by and get more and more, it was like, and you meet other foreigners who are just new to the country. They see me speaking Korean, they're like, Jesus, you must be fluent, even though I wasn't at all. But that kind of like, it makes you realize, actually, you know what, I'm not doing too bad here. Like, I might just try a bit harder and get better, and then it all kind of snowballed from there, you know.
Okay, class. And how did you feel like being the only Irish guy in a Korean band, like with all Korean guys? Like, was that weird for you, or were you pretty comfortable in that situation?
Yeah, after being there for a few, it was year 3 or 4 at that stage, and I was just really motivated to play music full time. So I was actually seeking it at that stage, and
Right.
there's all kinds of visa issues to become a musician full time in Korea. So I had to get around that as well, and learning the languages was important for that kind of stuff too. So at that point, yeah, I was in a Korean band surrounding Korean, but I still had my original mates that I met when I first arrived in Korea were mostly Irish and American, so I'd be definitely going out with them. as soon as band practice is over, I'd still be surrounded in Irish, you know.
Right. And what, like, I suppose that was probably a unique selling point though for the band as well, like that they had like, majority Korean guys, but this one Irish guy kind of sticking out, like, no?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's for TV kind of stuff. After a while I was able to speak in Korean, so it would add a bit of interest to us for a little bit of kind of marketing or whatever, that they have a member from Ireland that can speak the language. And then I was very lucky around that time in Korea. They started releasing reality TV shows of foreigners from random countries that come on air and speak in Korean. So a few years later, I fell into that kind of industry after I left that band. Yeah.
Right. And what was the like reality TV show? Like, what was it like? What were you doing? Like, were you like just interviewing random people, or were you like
Um,
part of like a Big Brother kind of situation?
some of it was music related, so I'd come on and talk for a while and play a song or play an Irish song. But there was one particular one that was the biggest we ever did. Was the premise of the show is they choose me to just present for a week, and I have to invite 3 of my best mates from Ireland to come over, and they get a free, all expenses paid trip to Korea, and
Okay.
we spent the week just going around the country, and they really wanted to zone in on the Irish relationship with alcohol. So for most of the time we were kind of tanked
On the
up
piss.
on the piss, yeah, and eating, and it was just brilliant crack for a week. As soon as they leave, I go into the studio with what is it, like the sort of the Patrick Keelty of Korea, and just sit there with this the footage, and we go through it, and they film us for hours, and they chop up the best parts of us watching the footage together, you know.
Okay. And is that something that you do again, or was it just a once-off kind of thing? Like, how many years did you actually do it for?
For this, it was like 2018, 2019 was probably the best. It was probably the most kind of productive time I had. I had my own. By then, I had my own band. I started singing, and we were recording albums, and I was doing a lot of shows on my own outside the band like this, and it was definitely. I was kind of doing it to boost the momentum of the band to appear on these shows a lot, and so then people would start contacting me on Instagram and ask us to turn up to these like events and play music for an hour, and that's kind of how we made our living to that stage. Yeah.
So you're like a full-on celebrity in Korea, right?
It was I had my 15 minutes, but as soon as COVID came along and 2020, that was everything just kind of nosedived, and that was the time that I really started thinking about medicine. I knew for years that I really wanted to do something working with people, but I think I started properly researching it as soon as the music got shut down for us. That was when I had time to think about things.
Yeah, like so. Yeah, why did you leave Korea then? Was it just because of COVID, or if COVID hadn't happened, would you still be there?
I think if COVID hadn't happened, I think it would have been too tempting to keep doing what I was doing, because it was a lot of fun, and there's a lot of opportunities there, and I finally kind of reached my goal, what I was trying to do for years in Korea, finally come along. So I worried that I would have got sidetracked and stayed there, and I feel like COVID was kind of meant to be for myself, but I I've completely lost track of the question. I'm so sorry. It
No,
was
you're going. Why? You're going. Why did you decide to leave Korea? Like, was it because of
yeah,
COVID?
yeah. So but around the time of 2020, 21, I just there was a number of things that kind of made me want to leave. First of all, I got married in 2020, and I felt that Korea still has some major issues with the gender gap, and it's still a very homogenous country in terms of inviting. Like, people are so friendly on the streets to foreigners and everything, but in terms of like the bureaucracy of being a foreigner, there are visas and human rights and stuff, it's still not at the level it should be. I felt that the new government became very far right, especially in during COVID. The surveillance was like ramped up. It was all a bit kind of tense, and just on the news there. It was on the news in Ireland, all over the news. It was in December, where the president decided to call out martial law. He attempted to basically become a dictator. So I felt that we all kind of saw it coming. Like, it wasn't just some say I predicted this. Like, everyone in the country around 2021 was like, something's a bit off here. So it was just kind of it was sort of for my wife. I felt like she'd get on a lot better in Europe, and for myself, for a different career, and just kind of the political situation in the country was sort of a bunch of different factors that made me want to leave. Yeah.
So, did you look at coming home to Ireland then to study medicine, or were you looking constantly all over Europe, or were you looking for, again, like a low cost of living place to move in Europe, or what was the plan?
Originally, yeah, I was applying to Ireland. I was applying to the new university up in Derry. I think it's called McGee. Is that what it's called? Because my mother is actually from just over the border in Donegal, very near Derry, so she would know a couple of people up there, and we were kind of having a look at that too. And but it turns out that if you leave as an Irish person, if you leave the EU for more than 5 years, you automatically lose like benefits, like things like applying for college and being a mature student. I was told that I would have to move back to Ireland and live there for 3 years, prove that I've lived there for 3 years, and then I could apply for medicine. So it was
Okay.
so then I was like, I'm already an old lad at this stage. I don't have 3 more years, you know.
Yeah.
I was 37 at that stage when I got into first year medicine here. So I was like, I got to speed this up a bit, you know.
Yeah.
And Bulgaria turned out to be a great option in the end. I'm kind of glad it worked out that way.
Yeah, yeah. How did you come across Bulgaria? Like, was it just pure research, or did someone tell you or point you in that direction?
Yeah, it was a YouTuber, doctor in the UK. He was still a student at that stage. His name was Ali Abdal. He did an interview with, like myself, a bunch of students in Bulgaria that started their own agency. He did a proper podcast with one of them, and that was the first time I'd ever heard about Bulgaria. So I started getting in contact with them, and I got some details and everything.
Right. Okay. And what was it like? Like, were you like the oldest in the class then when you went in? Because you went in at 37, or was there plenty
Yeah.
of other people the same age?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like especially with the Irish, I'm actually they divide you into groups in our year. So I was lucky in a way that I was with put in with a lot of German students who are definitely not as old as I am, but a few of them would have been like in
Okay.
their mid-20s when they started. So that would have been,
Right.
still 12 years younger than me, but still,
Yeah.
uh, their their behavior, especially the German students, they're quite focused on what they're doing, so their behavior will be similar to mine. Um, Whereas in some of the other groups, you have a lot of 18-year-old Irish students, and that was yeah, you can really feel the age gap there for sure. Like it's and but before my last couple of years in Korea, I was actually teaching guitar in a international school in Seoul, and I was working with a lot of 17, 18 year olds. So at least I had some kind of experience of working with
Right.
that age group before I got here. Like I kind of knew how to interact with them.
Right. So you're kind of safe enough. And the first 2 years, or like the first year in college, like was it hard to get in? Like, did you have to do an entrance exam as well, or did they just once you had a degree, you're kind of okay, or what are the entry requirements then?
Yeah, so they didn't want to, they don't take any notice of the third level stuff. So like my engineering degree, they didn't want to know about it. It was all secondary school. So before this year, you had to have like kind of H3-ish level in biology and chemistry. So I had to go back, I had to do my Leaving Cert biology and chemistry again. So as soon as COVID started, I started getting, started watching YouTube videos like of the institute, like teaching Leaving Cert biology, and I was like, I think I might be able to do this, and I ended up getting, I prepared for Leaving Cert on my own in Korea for about like 9 months,
Right.
and I got a H2 in biology, and I got a H3 in chemistry, and that was just enough to get me over the line to get myself at the university here. Then I had to do the entrance exam. I had to prep for that as soon as the Leaving Cert was over, and I
Yeah.
passed that. So that was June biology, Leaving Cert, chemistry, July entrance exam for our uni, and then I got an offer in early September. As soon as the Leaving Cert results got released, they gave me an offer to come here.
Okay. So, and between like, leaving Korea and kind of moving to Bulgaria, did you spend a bit of time back home then for a while?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
your kind of
So
leadership. Yeah.
I went back to my folks' house. They're living they're out in Greystones, and I stayed there for like the whole 4 months because it's during COVID. I had to fly back early,
Yeah.
self isolate, go to St Thomas's of Bray, do my Leaving Cert, and then do the entrance exam and hang around. I was kind of hanging around Ireland until yeah, like about
Yeah.
mid-September. Then I head off to. So yeah, it was nice to go home for about 4 months and
Right.
reconnect and everything. Have a summer back home.
Yeah. And was it hard to like find a place to stay out in Bulgaria, or was it easy enough?
That was really easy in Varna, especially. There's no housing crisis or anything, so it's really easy to find apartment here. It was definitely easier 4 years ago, but compared to the levels of finding an apartment back in Ireland, it's still a breeze to find a place, and that's kind of the stage I'm at now with the students coming over. I'm starting to look at accommodation and everything, so there's
Yeah,
plenty of loads of options.
that's something you help with. And what is like the average cost of like an apartment out there?
Um, so at the moment, I'm looking at the cheapest way to do would be to get a two-bedroom apartment, two students live together, and that's sort of in the range of about 650 euros per month for a two-bedroom apartment. We split that between two people. It's definitely
Yeah.
very manageable price-wise.
And does that include like bills and everything else, or is that like bills and internet and everything on top?
Yes, our bills would be separate. So I'd say electricity and water would come out to about maybe 80 euros a month, split between two. Maybe probably
Yeah.
that's the highest, but it's between 70 and 80. And then the internet, broadband here will be about, I think it's about 8 euros a month now.
Okay, that's cheap,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's the internet here is really good and cheap. I think the Bulgarian government put a lot of invested a lot to try and attract digital nomads about 10 years ago. So the internet's really good here.
Very good. And is it possible then, if you go over as a student, like to work outside, like in the local economy, or is that just off the cards if you're there to study?
Yeah, that's a bit of a con of a student living in Bulgaria because the minimum wage is extremely low here. So I think they released the minimum like monthly salary. They increased it there last week. I still think like the minimum monthly wage is about 680 euros per month or something. It's very small. So you can break that down to an hourly wage. It must be like 3 or 4 years an hour or something. So the time that you're putting into the part-time job that you have, it's not worth the hours you're taking away from medicine. Better to go home in the summer, and it's not easy to find a summer job, of course, for Irish students going home. But if you can find a summer job in an office or call center or something, you'd be earning like astronomically higher wages than you would here during the semester.
Right. Okay. So your plan would be like, or your advice would be like, come here, study, and then summer months, head back home, get a summer job, save up everything to come back and do your second and third year.
Yeah, definitely. Um, that would be the way. That would be the way to go. I know very few people here, or if you can find an online job while you're in Bulgaria, connected to an Irish company or a German company or something like this. I know people who do that as well, or even a call center job online. That's another thing that some people do sometimes.
Yeah, I think like Apple have something like that, like customer service jobs that you can do
Yeah,
remotely from anywhere.
yeah, and Netflix for a while as well. There's a few people in our course working for Netflix.
Yeah. So I do think there's different customer support jobs that you can do. And
Yeah.
in the first year in college, like what are you learning, or are you put? And then does the hospital then get your placement then in different hospitals, or is that just part of it, the natural course? Or what does it look like?
Yeah, for the first 2 years, it's mostly theoretical. It's kind of like the way the Americans do. They do the thing they call pre-med first, where they do another degree, then they do an big whole entrance exam. Instead of doing like a pre-degree in the EU, especially in Bulgaria, we just go straight into medical university. You do all the pre-med stuff in the uni. So first and second year is mostly that, and then from third year you get into the hospital and you start working with patients, doing seminars in the hospital. So in the end of third year and the end of fourth year in summer, you have to do 1 month of a mandatory hospital internship, 2 summers in a
Right.
row. And you can go home and do that in Ireland if you want to. So
Okay.
most of the Irish students here will go home and work in a local hospital. And I actually did both of mine here in Bulgaria at our local hospital, because myself and my wife, we live here together in our apartment. So it's not as straightforward as Irish Jews go home to staying with their parents. It's
Yeah.
We're sort of like settled here as a married couple and everything. It makes more sense to stay here, and we really like it in
Yeah.
the summer. It's kind of like we live in a beach town, and the weather's more like a Mediterranean kind of climate, so it's really nice to be here.
Oh, okay. So it's not too bad. And like, so is it hard then to get a placement back in Ireland for those internships? Like, or is because there's such a short, is it like, well, I think there's a shortage of doctors back home, right?
Yeah,
So is it easier then to get placed?
yeah. They're always trying to looking on to take on students and more help and extra help and everything. So I haven't heard of anyone getting rejected for a place. There are certain fields uh, that can be difficult to get into. There's only a certain amount of places. Like I had a friend. She tried to get into psychology in multiple places in Ireland, and it was full by the time she applied. Whereas she applied surgery in multiple hospitals, she got an answer off all of them. So
Okay.
you can actually uh, assist like orthopedic surgeons during operations, and if you stay there and you're diligent enough, you might be able to suture somebody or pass tools around the table and stuff like that. It depends on it's the look of the draw. It depends what doctor you work with. You get to do a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, geez. And like, what are you learning in pre-med, right? Is this like, basic, like kind of first aid kind of stuff and the anatomy of the body, or like, what are you actually learning in those
Yeah,
first 2 years?
exactly. A lot of anatomy. The first 2 years especially in the second year, we have a final exam in anatomy, and it's very hard. You're in the morgue, in the basement, and there's like cadavers, and for the exams, the doctors will put clips on like random parts, and you have to walk around this room identifying what the structures are, write them down on a piece of paper, hand it out, walk out. Another one is histology, which is like study of microscopic images of tissues of the body. You have to be able to tell what the difference between what heart tissue looks like magnified and what brain tissue looks like, and try and figure out what's wrong with it. And so it's a lot of microscopic anatomy and macro anatomy as well, a bit of chemistry, a little bit of physics, not too much physics though. Biochemistry is a big one. So second year is all about biochemistry and anatomy so they're two very tough exams.
Yeah, that's the next question. Like, are the exams hard? Like, and like, how much hour study are you putting into these exams, or and is it continuous assessment the whole way through, or is it just final exams?
Yeah, the continuous assessment will be about 30% of the score. The final exams at the end will be about 70. I think some of the exams will be fairly approachable. Not a huge amount of study will go into them, but then there's a select few, like first year histology, chemistry, and biology. You walk into a computer lab, do about 60 multiple choice questions on a computer. Then you go into a room with a doctor or a professor. They give you 2 topics off the syllabus out of a possible like 70 topics. And you have to just straight off the cuff be able to talk about those 2 topics for about 5 minutes each. And so it's a bit of a lottery which topic you get. And that's kind of the format of most exams. You do your multiple choice. Sometimes you do an essay. You walk into the room with the doctor and you'll be asked to just pick off 2 random topics and just talk about them.
Okay. And is there like a high failure rate, or does everyone kind of get through them?
The first round of exams, there's quite a high failure rate, especially in anatomy. It has about a 50% failure rate, whereas biology or chemistry will be about 30%. And the good thing about our uni, some people may say it's not a good thing, but you get roughly 4 attempts to pass each one.
Okay.
So you fail, let's say you do a summer exam in June, you fail it, you come back in July, second attempt. You fail it, you come back in September. So if you have just 1 or 2 fails, they allow you to go to the next year. And then you come back the following summer after you've completed second or third year, and you do it again. And if you fail that one, you're in trouble. But it's like 4 attempts. Whereas from what I gather in places like Poland or Czech Republic and medical universities, they cut you after, they kind of cut away the bottom like 10% of first year, which is really dangerous. So that was another reason why I chose Bulgaria and Varna, especially. It's kind of a culling system where they cut away like the bottom students and you're out. So I just think that system has just scared the life out of me. So it was another reason why I came here. They give you ample opportunities to get to the end.
Okay. And is that just because they don't have enough space in the second year, or like they just don't think that those people should be doctors, kind of thing? Or?
I have no idea. I assume it must be because of places. But now and again, I get emails from students from Poland, Slovakia, Georgia as well. It's not an EU country, but there's still Irish doctors based over there, Irish students based over there, asking can they I get emails from people asking can they transfer to Varna, and that's a really hard thing to do. 9 times out of 10, students have to start in first year all over again if they want to come here, because the courses are so different. And but yeah, I get a lot of people in those kind of situations contacting us.
Right. Okay. And so, when you do the course, then, right? Like, does it depend on what you specialized in your internships, depending on like what types of jobs that you applied to, or when you do finish, like, are you specialist like GP, or is that like a separate course, or are you just in the hospital? Are you in a surgery room? Like, what do you do?
You mean after 6th year?
Yeah. So after 6th year, like, because you've done, internships in surgery, right? Like, are you then stuck to working in the surgery room or in a hospital ward, or like what way does it work?
Yeah, you can. You definitely, if you're going to Ireland, you do 2 years as a junior doctor, so you're sent around a bunch of different hospitals and different sectors of the hospital, and you're kind of getting a rough kind of look at loads of different kind of. Then you can choose your specialty after that. Whereas in Germany, for example, I'm thinking about doing specialty training in Germany. After you graduate in Bulgaria, you choose what specialty you want, and you apply to certain hospitals who offer that specialty. So after 6th year, you're not limited to any specialty. You make your choice after you graduate. Whereas
Right.
the experience that you're talking about when we do during the course, you can kind of use that as a way to decide what you want to do later and just get experience. But it doesn't hold you down. It doesn't narrow you down to any kind of specialty. You kind of choose that after you graduate.
Okay, so like 6th year, you're basically like a generalist doctor, and then you do 2 years as a junior doctor, and then you specialist, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and then like you're kind of helping people now move from Ireland to Bulgaria. Are you helping people in other EU countries move to Bulgaria, or is it just predominantly Irish students?
So far it's just been mostly Irish that's contacted us. We have pretty much everyone's been Irish. There's one girl with a Swedish passport that we helped get a place this year. We had a good few contacts from the UK, but it was too late for them because the non-EU passports now they have to get their documents in super early. So I was just like, it's hard. No offense, it's not
Yeah,
a history thing here. We just can't take you on right now.
it's Brexit, I suppose.
Yeah.
And like, so to do the entrance exam, right? Is there a cost to do that entrance exam? And then, like, is it difficult to pass? And what is the entrance exam actually about? Like, is it generalized questions, or is this specific to the medical industry?
Yeah, so the entrance exam, the course is extremely narrow compared to the HPAT. There's not as much material. It's a 1 hour biology exam in the morning, then an hour later do 1 hour chemistry exam, and the Leaving Cert covers a good bit of those too, especially chemistry. It'll give you a good hint, but there's a good few new things to learn too that you won't have come across. But if you have, I'd say, 3 weeks to a month to go over the material, it's more than enough. We have a course that we have written out ourselves that I've kind of tailored over the last few years myself. And what I do is I teach like 3 or 4 Zoom lessons to group Zoom lessons to students who are taking as well, explaining material, the best way to answer the questions, because the people who wrote the exam taught me biology and chemistry in first year, so I've kind of sat down with them and got a good idea of what to expect, because some of them are MCQ, multiple choice questions, but others are not essay, but like write a paragraph about 2 topics kind of thing that I mentioned before in the oral exams. They'll give you a few topics to write about. You've got to type it into the box in the app when you're doing the exam, and so it's very hard for students to figure out what they want, what the professors want from that. So even like really students who've done really well in the Leaving Cert might misunderstand the question. For example, I had a mother who called me last summer. Her 2 sons who were brilliant students in Ireland. They got H1s and H2s in biology and chemistry, 2 twins, but their entrance exam didn't go very well over here at all. So I think they just didn't know what was expected of them, what kind of which way to phrase the answers, or how much they were supposed to study for it. So it's good to kind of get an insight of someone who's done the exam before.
Yeah. And is there negative marking on the multiple choice questions? Like, if you get so many wrong, it takes away from, your score?
No. There wouldn't be. It will just be kind of a 0 for a wrong answer and a positive for a right answer. But yeah, generally, I think the entrance exam is very, very approachable for most students. I think the only people that don't do well in it are just ones that prepare too late or are a bit complacent, because generally the word online, especially in Reddit, is that the entrance exam is a joke and it's easy, but like if you don't if you don't put a decent amount of work in, you're not going to do well in it, you know.
Yeah.
But it is very approachable with a few weeks of study for sure.
And how many points should some in Ireland you have to score a certain amount of points in your leaving cert to be accepted into the Royal College of Surgeons or a medical university? Is it the same situation in Bulgaria, like that the leaving cert points actually count, or is it just the entrance exam?
Yeah, just the entrance exam. Originally, before this year, when I was applying, you needed roughly like H3s in chemistry and biology, an average of those two, maybe H4 at a stretch. And from this year, they've decided to drop that, the Leaving Cert requirement, which has mean like way more people are eligible. A lot more Irish people are calling me for places. We're taking on a lot more students than last year, because some people haven't done chemistry before, some people haven't done biology, and in the past they wouldn't be eligible. But for this year, they're putting all the emphasis on the entrance exam. So,
and does that mean like someone basically with like 200 points in their leaving cert can apply to do the entrance exam in Varna and then pass the entrance exam and then in 6 years' time become a doctor?
Yeah, if once they pass 6 out of 7 of the Leaving Cert subjects, doesn't matter what they are, as they passed Leaving Cert English, they get a very good entrance exam score, then they'll get their place. And yeah, the next question people will ask is like, are they going to struggle when they get here? And it's hard. It's people that have applied through us. I've seen some low Leaving Cert scores, and I've seen them excel in medicine here. And of course, there's some people who have low Leaving Cert scores that find it very difficult to cope here. There's different types of students that come here, and there's different levels of results. So it's hard to narrow it down to just one kind of student. There's all kinds of different people enroll here and take to it. Some don't.
Yeah, it's interesting because do you think then, like back home, right, that like the point system shouldn't actually count? There should be more based around like an entrance exam as opposed to like how many points you get in your leaving cert?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Leaving Cert at all. I did it in 2003. It was a mess for me. I did it again in 2021. Actually did well in it that time. Studied really hard for it. Got my H2 and my H3, and I felt that it didn't prepare me in any way for medical university. So I think it either needs to be completely overhauled, especially the science subjects for preparation for medical university. I think that needs to completely get rid of most of the chemistry course, especially. They need to get rid of all the plants stuff off biology, because I was sick of learning about plants for a whole year. That was awful. Put more anatomy on it, and just generally come up with a much better pathway for people who want to be doctors and nurses and everything. Like it's so outdated. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the old apprenticeship for nurses should be brought back in, but I think doctors should still go to college.
Yeah, definitely. We need to learn. Definitely to read a few books for a while before we get into a hospital, for sure.
Yeah. How did you find it yourself though? Like going into like the morgue and kind of seeing, was that a bit of a shock to the system, or were you okay with it?
At first, that's a massive shock for everyone. You're just like, especially the condition. They're all treated with formaldehyde, so they're kind of preserved. But that kind of it makes them turn like a very dark color. Like the bones will be dark, the muscles are all dark, and the face, it looks absolutely like something from Cillian Murphy in 28 Days Later. Like it's but amazingly, after a few months, you realize you get completely desensitized to it. It's nothing to walk up to a dead body and start like looking through blood vessels and nerves and everything. It's shocking. But I will say that I didn't enjoy working with cadavers. I'm kind of glad that part's over. I kind of want to work with people who are alive now. I remember I watched a documentary on RTE Player not too long ago. It was actually it was a Tommy Tiernan show.
Okay.
It was a lady who's one of the, there's only a handful of forensic scientists in Ireland that go on call. There's only like 3 or 4 of them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
She was one of them, and she was explaining like how how her and her colleagues are really weird people, and it takes a really weird person to be able to devote their career to dead bodies and be like a coronary reports and this kind of thing. And I totally understand what she means now. Like it's not a nice environment to be in every day for sure.
Yeah, yeah, because it's a very real relationship, like with death. It's
Yeah, it's what is that TV show about the Undertakers in America? It was like 20 years ago. It came out. It was a really popular show where they run their own kind of family business. For
I've never even seen it, to be honest with you.
well,
But I've seen like postmortems and stuff like that. I think there was a UK program, like there's like postmortems being carried out like in front of a live audience and broadcast. People that have like dedicated their bodies to it. Yeah, it's nuts.
I remember watching that for anatomy class. Someone recommended me to watch that as well, and it was just too much. It was too much.
But what's your own plans? Like, what's your own plans now? Like, do you plan on staying in Bulgaria a long time and kind of qualifying there, or do you think you'll be back to Ireland to kind of work as a doctor? Or
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out now because I'm looking at friends of mine. I play a lot of football when I'm here, and I had a good few mates in higher years from Ireland that I played with, and so I was able to make some mates in higher years to that way. And they just getting reports back now from the lads that graduate in November. They all seem to be getting jobs back home. Anyone who's put proper effort into it. They went home last November after graduation ceremony. They immediately applied for their Irish medical license. That takes a few months to come out. I think they got it in March or April. Then they started applying for jobs, and they pretty much all of them got hired in July. So if I can find a job, I brought my wife all the way to Eastern Europe from her family home, so she's going to have a bit of a stay where we go as well. She's a bit of a fan of Germany, and the specialty training system in Germany is unbelievable. Doesn't matter what the competition level is in any sector. You can basically get very easily hired in any sector except for dermatology and ophthalmology is the other one. So those are the two ones that are very hard to get on. Literally everything else, you're kind of guaranteed a placement depending on what city you apply to. Like, so she's kind of poking me in the arm about Berlin at the moment now. So
right, okay, so you're off to Berlin. And when you say like get your Irish license, right? Like, does that require then another exam, or is that like an interview, or like how does that kind of how do you get your license then to work in a different country?
So in Bulgaria, the degree is an EU certified degree, meaning that you can go to any country in the EU and EEA, so Switzerland or Norway or whatever, and you can kind of just easily switch over your license to whatever the license is in that country. It just takes a bit of bureaucracy. The UK, though, that used to be the way with the UK. That is changing now, not just for Bulgarian graduates, but anyone from outside of the UK. That even if you're from the UK, you enter the UK with your medical degree from whether it's Bulgaria or America. They're making people do this kind of lengthy exam process to get their UK medical license. Things are getting very politically. The NHS is really isolating themselves from the rest of the world now in new ways, which is a bit shocking because they used to be so open to getting people to come home to their country to start working. So the UK will be off my radar completely,
Okay. Yeah, like do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? Because do you think they'll retain more doctors internally if they do that, or is it going to completely isolate them because they need to attract in doctors coming in too?
Yeah, from what I hear from, I'm studying with plenty of people from the UK and Bulgaria, so they're getting really get worried about the news about when they have to go back home, and the general opinion is it's a complete joke there. They're completely understaffed because the new rules are coming in. They're having to pay a lot of money to agencies to find them specialists that are able to drop in, and instead of training a new workforce, they're relying on overseas doctors to come in and work as specialists and consultants and everything. So it seems to be a real mess, the NHS. Sometimes in our hospital, we get patients from the UK that dropped everything in England to come over and live in Bulgaria, like mostly retired people that have found like a cheaper property. And I was with a lady last week actually that was saying how in Bulgaria it's much better than the NHS is right now. Generally, Bulgaria is going to lag behind the likes of Ireland or Germany for hospital conditions. But right now, it seems to be a bit better than what the UK is going through.
Okay. And what about yourself then, right? Like, are you able to kind of work in a Bulgarian hospital like with just English, or do you have to pick up the language then as well?
Yes, because you're a paying student on an officially, the whole course is in English here. And because it's officially an English course and you're paying the tuition fee for an English course, there's no doctor or hospital official can target you for not speaking Bulgarian. It's like completely illegal. But if you want to get extra clinical experience, it's highly advisable to learn Bulgarian while you're here, because the elderly people in Bulgaria don't speak a lot of English. Younger people under the age of 40 to 50, they generally speak English really well. It's quite a bilingual city in a way over here. You can get by without Bulgarian, but because of the Soviets rule that lasted up until 89, 90, the older people learned Russian in school, whereas now young people learn English in school. So it's a really great weapon to learn clinical skills would be speaking. You don't even have to be fluent or anything. If you can do a history taking, you're going to realize after a while that everything becomes repetitive. The things you're saying to patients, the thing they're saying back to you, it becomes very repetitive. So if you get like a lingo down, you'll be fine.
That's interesting. Okay. And what about yourself? Did it take you long to pick it up yourself, or like have you picked up the language?
Coming from Korea to here with the difficulty level of Korean, I just felt like, because your brain's kind of trained all of a sudden to pick up language more easily than before, it just felt quite nice to turn over to a more European style language, and I felt kind of motivated. Also, bringing a Korean wife to Bulgaria, I was really worried about the immigration situation. I heard that they don't speak English in the immigration offices, so I started, when I was back in Ireland, I started just kind of studying it a bit, trying to get a decent level of conversation down. And then when I got to the hospital in third year, I had more Bulgarian than the other students, because it's hard to comprehend what, like, learning a new language when you're at that age. I was the same when I went to Korea first. I didn't try hard enough to learn the language when I arrived, but then I kind of had that experience of like the difference it made to my life in Korea from learning the local language. It transformed my career completely. But then it made me realize that I could do something similar when I was here in Bulgaria, and it's just all about experience and confidence and developing your personality. Like I was 37, so they're only 18 or 19. It's different.
It's very hard, yeah. And if someone now, like from Ireland, wants to get in contact with you to go study, medicine in Bulgaria, like, where can they find you, or like what's the best way to get in touch?
Sorry, I'm just gonna turn this light on because I realize it's getting dark outside.
You're gone. Don't worry.
Look like a vampire in here. Sorry, your question was to get in contact with us.
Yeah, how do they get in contact with you if they want to find you, or what's the best way?
So the best way would be to go to our website, irishdoctorsbulgaria.com. We have a contact section. You can just drop us your name, your phone number, what you want to do. If you're not comfortable sharing your phone number, just drop us an email. We have two numbers there. We have an Irish number and a Bulgarian number. So if sometimes people get intimidated by seeing a Bulgarian or Eastern European phone number, so we have an Irish one there, just in case you prefer to give us a call on that. So either one is grand.
That's good. And like, how soon can they expect to hear back from you? And then how long does it take to get set up with yourself to kind of get the prep work done for the entrance exam, to getting accommodation, to moving over? Like, are they all steps that you help with?
Yeah. So we'll we'll have a chat with you, explain all the course and everything, because usually people have a lot of questions at first. We'll do a consultation call, and then we'll send you an application form. Once we get your form, we'll create our online application on the university website. Then we'll start helping you get prepared for the entrance exam. And then as soon as you take the entrance exam, or even a little bit before it, we'll talk you through how to prepare the documents, because that's arguably harder than the entrance exam is the document side. It's really complicated. We need a copy of the junior cert, leaving cert, and a letter from the school, their secondary school, and those things have to be authenticated before they leave Ireland. So we have an absolute legend of a fella who sorted out my application when I almost blew it. I applied to an agency that kind of messed up my paperwork, and I found this lad across the street from the Department of Foreign Affairs in Stephen's Green, and he sorted me out, got the government stamp, and I was ready to go. And I kept in touch with him ever since. And he's a sort of solicitor that specializes in authenticating documents for students heading over to study overseas, because other solicitors sometimes do it the wrong way, and you pay them and you have to go to someone else and do it again. It becomes very expensive. But this fella, his name's Giuseppe Santoro, he's given us a huge discount to anyone who applies through us as well, because he knows how expensive it is for everyone. It's quite pricey.
Yeah. Is there a cost to using your service, or does the college pay for that at the back end?
So we charge in total, it comes to about 1,150 euros altogether. Okay. And we usually ask for a little bit more to get the documents processed in Bulgaria, so translation, and we have to apply to the Bulgarian Department of Education. That costs about 250 euros. So we usually take about 1,300 euros in total per student. And when I was applying first through agencies, they usually charge between 3,000 and 4,000 euros. And we thought that was just like completely over the top. So we wanted to do something a lot more cost effective for students. We feel the job that we're doing, we feel it warrants so much a price in the range that we're offering.
Yeah, no, look, it sounds fair enough. And then what is the cost then to study at the college? Like, is there a cost then involved to study at the college as well?
Yeah, the tuition fee is definitely a con for sure for Irish applicants. The tuition fee is 10,000 euros per year, over 6 years. So yeah, all the work I was doing in Korea before, I was put money away for years, thinking I was going to get a mortgage in Ireland, and at that 10-year life savings, it was either get a mortgage back home or go do a degree. So I chose the second option.
To go do. Yeah. You probably make it back triple, within the same amount of time.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Just don't want to meet you on a surgery table. But okay, and so look, it sounds quite interesting. Like, do you think it could fix, like, if Ireland maybe sent more students kind of to Bulgaria, do you think it could fix the healthcare problem or the shortage of doctors in Ireland?
I think so, for sure. Yeah, like funnily enough, my sister's 3 years younger than me. We went to the same school in Greystone, St. David's, and she was in Simon Harris's class the whole way through, first to sixth year. So, and my mother worked for Bank of Ireland, and she used to volunteer in the school, set up this after-school activity called the School Bank. And Simon Harris was president of the School Bank, of course. And so he still meets her in the street now and again, like going to Super Value, and they stop and have a chat. So she was like, you should email Simon and see what he says. Tell him that you're going to get places for Irish students. So I sent him an email there about a year ago, and just got to his assistant and no further than that. So, but I'll get on to him again and tell him, try to break the news to him that we have the solution to Irish medical systems problems here for sure.
We'll tag him in the comments so we put it up as a reel on TikTok. Yeah. He says, but it's interesting, and like, because surely, like, the Irish government could maybe subsidize that €10,000 fee every year, right?
Yeah,
Because it's a hefty fee, right? If your parents are going to pay for it, or if you're going to pay for it
yeah,
yourself, right?
definitely. I mean, in Germany, they have a kind of system set up for that as well.
Okay,
There are some students who got their full course paid for. There's some students getting a grant every year, as long as they come back to Germany and do work. And um,
okay, yeah,
yeah, Germany's way more connected to Bulgaria because it's closer, and there's a lot of direct flights straight to Varna from
okay,
Germany. There's a bit of a history there between the countries, going back for like 50 years, and so there is. I think the German government would have more confidence and belief in Bulgarian bureaucracy, whereas in Ireland, I think the general image of Eastern Europe is still not the best.
okay, yeah. Well, maybe those ties could strengthen with the work that you're doing.
Yeah, it's sure like Poland is kind of taken off with Irish students now, so there seems to be plenty of confidence in that from the graduates that are slowly building up there. So it's only a matter of time before uh, the amount of Bulgarian graduates in Ireland increases, and they see maybe it's hopefully something worth investing in.
Yeah, because surely like it'd be a great way to kind of retain doctors in country, right? If like you pay for them to go, get educated in Bulgaria because there's not enough places in the Irish courses, but then on the condition that you pass the exams and that you come back and work on in Ireland for like say 4 or 5 years, um, surely that would be a good way of keeping doctors like in country.
I think so because the government subsidizes so many students to study in Ireland anyway. It's they probably have to. The government probably would have to pay less to subsidize students in Bulgaria than it would back home. I would say.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not sure, but like ten, paying giving a student 10 grand a year for 6 years will be similar to what they're doing for students back home who are doing medical degrees.
yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. It's definitely food for thought anyway. But Neil, it was brilliant talking to you. Very insightful conversation,
Yeah.
and thanks very much for coming on.
No, it's a pleasure. Always great to keep connections with back home.
If you enjoyed the episode, if you could hit that like, subscribe, and follow button, that'd be great. And thanks for listening.